Picture this. You're lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself, why me? Why is my path so painful, so filled with challenges, while others seem to have it easier? You've given your best, held on to your faith, yet the trials keep coming. It feels unfair, doesn't it? But what if I told you, this pain isn't without purpose? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters. You see, Allah chooses His strongest servants for the heaviest burdens, not as punishment, but as preparation. Today, we're uncovering 5 profound lessons that will help you see why your struggles aren't random. They're signs of a greater purpose Allah has chosen for you. But before we begin, I want to take a moment to thank all of you who are here watching this right now. If you found value in these videos but haven't subscribed or liked yet, let me remind you, it's just one click, and it helps us continue spreading messages like these. Plus, you never know when the next video might be exactly what you need to hear. Now, let's uncover together why every tear, every challenge, and every moment of doubt is shaping you into someone extraordinary. Lesson 1. Trials are the mark of the chosen. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how the strongest storms seem to hit the tallest trees? It's no coincidence. The strongest structures are tested the most, not to break them, but to prove their strength. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The most severely tested people are the prophets, then the next best, then the next best." Think about that for a moment. If you're facing relentless challenges, it's not because you're forgotten, it's because you're being prepared. Maybe it's the constant setbacks in your career, the friendships that fell apart, or the struggles that weigh on your heart daily. These trials aren't signs of failure, they're signs of refinement. Just like gold is purified in fire, your hardships are purifying you, shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and closer to Allah. You're not being punished, you're being prepared for something greater. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you faced a moment so overwhelming that you wanted to give up? Maybe it was a loss, a betrayal, or even just the weight of feeling unseen and unheard. It's in those moments when faith feels like the hardest thing to hold on to, but also the most necessary. Let's explore how to find strength when everything seems to be falling apart. Lesson 2. Your pain is a bridge to greater strength. Do you remember a time when pain completely consumed you, when it felt like the walls were closing in and there was no way out? Maybe it was the betrayal of a close friend, the failure of a dream you worked so hard for, or the loneliness of feeling unseen in a crowded room. It's during these moments that a question often arises. Why me? Why now? Allah says in the Quran, "Indeed, with hardship comes ease." But let's be honest, when you're in the thick of pain, these words can feel distant. How can ease come from hardship when all you feel is the weight of your struggles? Here's where the beauty of Allah's wisdom comes in. Your pain isn't meaningless. It's a bridge, a process of refinement, like gold being purified in fire. Think about it. When life is easy, how often do we pause to reflect, grow, or change? But when hardship strikes, it strips away the distractions and forces us to confront what truly matters. Perhaps that failed relationship taught you what love should really look like. Maybe that job you lost was Allah's way of redirecting you to a path you never considered. Or the loneliness you felt brought you closer to Allah in ways comfort never could. The trials you face are not there to define you by your pain, but to refine you through it. Each tear, each setback, and each moment of frustration is shaping you into someone stronger and more grounded in faith. And here's the question we need to explore. How do you navigate this refinement process without losing yourself? Let's delve deeper into this in the next section. Lesson 3. Finding purpose in rejection. Have you ever felt the sting of rejection? Maybe someone you cared deeply for walked away, or an opportunity you worked tirelessly for slipped through your fingers. In that moment, it's easy to feel unworthy, even abandoned. But what if that rejection wasn't meant to hurt you, but to guide you? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam faced countless rejections, especially in the early days of his prophethood. Entire tribes turned their backs on him, mocked his message, and shut doors in his face. But those closed doors weren't the end. They were the beginning of something far greater. Perhaps in your own life, that rejection from a person or a situation wasn't meant to push you down, but to redirect you. That friend who left, maybe Allah was protecting you from harm you couldn't see. That job you didn't get, perhaps it would have distracted you from a path that's far better for your growth and faith. Rejection, while painful, is often a hidden blessing. It forces us to pause and reflect. It makes us turn to Allah, seeking His guidance and wisdom. And in that moment of vulnerability, we often discover strength and clarity we didn't know we had. But how do you trust Allah's plan when everything feels so uncertain? That's what we'll explore in the next section. Lesson 4. Strength in isolation. Allah's preparation. Have you ever found yourself surrounded by people, yet feeling completely alone? Or maybe you've noticed that, as you grow in faith or purpose, the circle around you starts to shrink. You might even ask yourself, why am I losing people when I'm trying to do the right thing? This isn't a coincidence, it's a sign. Isolation isn't always a punishment. Often, it's Allah's way of preparing you. Look at the story of the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. He was thrown into a well by his own brothers, left alone in darkness. That isolation wasn't the end of his journey. It was the beginning of his rise. In your own life, that season of loneliness might be protecting you from distractions or people who no longer align with your purpose. It's during these moments that you're meant to draw closer to Allah, to find strength in His companionship. Perhaps the relationships that fell apart were draining your energy, or the people who distanced themselves were never meant to understand the path Allah has chosen for you. But here's the real struggle. How do you find peace when it feels like the world has left you behind? How do you embrace isolation without feeling abandoned? Lesson 5. Trusting the unseen plan of Allah. Imagine this. You've done everything right. You've prayed, you've worked hard, and you've stayed patient. But instead of the breakthrough you were hoping for, all you're met with is silence. No answers, no signs, just emptiness. Have you been there? That aching doubt creeps in, whispering, "Why isn't Allah helping me?" It's a painful feeling, but let's pause here for a moment. Allah says in the Quran, "But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you know not." Now think about this. Have you ever wanted something so badly, only to look back years later and realize it wasn't right for you? Maybe it was that relationship that didn't work out, only for you to meet someone better suited for you later. Or that job opportunity you missed, which opened the door to something far greater. It's hard to trust the unseen plan when we're living in the moment. But here's the truth. Allah doesn't delay, deny, or withhold without purpose. Every no you face is a redirection, pushing you towards something far better than you could imagine. Think of Prophet Musa alayhi salam as a child. His mother, in desperation, placed him in a river, trusting Allah's promise. Could she have foreseen that the very river carrying him away would lead him to Pharaoh's palace, ultimately fulfilling his destiny? Your life is no different. The rejection, the delay, the silence, it's all part of a greater tapestry that you can't fully see yet. My dear brothers and sisters, every pain, every test, every unanswered prayer, none of it is without purpose. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, is shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for a destiny far greater than you can imagine. Remember, the trials of this life are not to break you, but to build you into the person you're meant to become. If this video has resonated with you, take a moment to leave a comment like, "Ya Allah, guide me to trust your plan, even when I don't understand it." Your words might inspire someone else who's facing their own struggles. And before you go, there's another video waiting for you. A deep dive into the signs from your childhood that hinted at the unique path Allah has set for you. Click on the screen and continue this journey. It might be the message your heart needs today. Jazakallahu khair for watching. And may Allah grant you strength, patience, and unshakable faith in His plan. Until next time, stay steadfast and keep moving forward.